Hey everyone, this is Mary from SVG Cuts, and I'm here today with some really fun Christmas paper projects. So Christmas is probably the most fun time to make crafts. I think you could probably agree. All the holidays are super fun because it's a gift-giving time. It's a time to have fun with crafty stuff, whether you're by yourself or doing it with friends or your family or grandkids or kids. So I hope you have a ton of fun making your projects. So I had a lot of fun making this house, and I've had a lot of fun in the past making similar houses for Halloween that look haunted. So I thought it would be really cool to make a really pretty Christmas themed house. So of course you could also make it next year for Halloween with Halloween patterned paper and some spooky stuff on it. And of course you could make it any time of year for just general, every day, or you could make like a Valentine's house or a fall house, maybe a Thanksgiving decoration. Whatever strikes your fancy as far as your creativity goes, you can have a lot of fun with it and have fun putting it together and picking your paper and everything. So as you can see, the roof lifts right off, and inside, normally when I illuminate something on the inside, I like to put electronic LED tea light candles inside, which is pretty, but they're not very bright. So this time I actually used a string of these wire micro LED lights, and they actually plug into the wall, so you don't have to worry about batteries or anything. And then as you can see, in the back of the house there's a nice little hole that's actually reinforced several times so that it's nice and sturdy. And the whole house is really nice and sturdy, and it's also finished off nicely on the inside, if you can see that. So you could make it just as a decoration or a centerpiece, or you could also use it as an extremely special gift box and put something inside, and then the person could still use it as a decoration or whatnot. So of course, if you make this, you can have a lot of fun putting it together. If you're careful with it, it can last like quite a while. But of course, if something goes wrong, if something happens to it, you can always recycle it and have fun making something else next year too. So I think that's kind of the fun part of paper crafting, is there's no pressure, So we also have a pretty lantern, and you can put an LED tea light candle inside there as well to light it up. And it looks Christmassy because it's got the bell and the bow and the stripes and everything. But you could of course make it for whatever kind of idea you have. It could be pretty for like a wedding, wedding shower, table centerpiece if it was white, or whatever you have in mind is going to be cool. So we also have a cute little gift bag, and this joy thing is just printed on the paper. So again, make it with whatever paper you want, and it can be for birthday or any time of year or what have you. So we also have a cute little card, which is obviously Christmassy with the reindeer, but once again could be for any time of year if you do something instead of the reindeer. And it's kind of cool because you can see the stamped image through the front of the card. It's a little different. And then again, we have a really pretty lacy card, which could also work for any time of year, any other occasion, because it's just lacy. So I think it would be super pretty if you did it all in white and ivory for a wedding, or girly colors for a birthday, or really whatever you have in mind. So the paper that I used this time is so pretty. It's by My Mind's Eye, and it's called Joyous, and they really know how to lay on the glitter really thick on their paper, so it's a lot of fun to have lots of glitter. And there's some little accessories that are also really cute, but like I always say, whatever kind of paper you have in mind that you want to use is going to look really awesome. So I've got all of my pieces cut out to show you how the lantern, the bag, and the house go together. So let's get started. So let's start out with the lace cuff gift bag. And as you can see, it's nice and simple. There's just 4 main parts that make up the sides. And this top part actually folds over. And I went ahead and glued this piece right onto the front there. And I also put some cute little decorations that I had laying around on the front. So as you can see on the bottom of each piece, there is a little number, and your machine will have cut this number into the bottom of each piece. And I went ahead and darkened it in with a marker just for this video so that you could see it more easily. So that just helps you know for sure that you are gluing them together in the right order. So all we're going to do is glue all 4 of these pieces together side to side. And then we're just going to glue the bottom on. So it's really straightforward, really easy. So if you need a little gift bag for just about any occasion, this should come in handy. So nice and simple and easy. I'm just carefully gluing each tab into place here. And since it's nice and simple, you can let your machine kind of shine by cutting out that pretty lacy, intricate element that's on the front there. And then you can let your pretty paper shine because it's so pretty. You might as well enjoy it and use it. So I'm just going to close up the front of the bag here. And I had these cute elements laying around that I glued on the front of this bag. So a lot of times pretty paper comes with some pretty die cuts or stickers or chipboard elements. This is some graphic 45 paper that I had. So it's nice and easy to just stick something cute on the front like that. Or of course you could cut something out with your machine and put that on the front. That would be super cute too. So as you can see, I'm just putting some glue on the bottom, and then I've got 2 rectangles left. One is slightly larger than the other one, which is the bottom. So I'll just glue that into place and flip it over. Push those tabs down from the inside. And then just cover this final rectangle with glue and pop that in the bottom as reinforcement. And now all that's left to do is put some pretty ribbon through these holes for your bag handles. So as you can see, for that all I did was just put a little loop and I tied it in a knot on both sides. So next for our Damask Lantern, I've got the pieces laid out here. There's really just 2 main pieces, and the machine really does most of the work here, making this pretty intricate pattern. And I went ahead and I glued my 4 little decorative panels as well as this large one on the back. And then on the other side, I went ahead and glued most of my vellum into place. So as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 spots for this small piece of vellum. So that is nice and easy to just glue right into place. And then I just want to glue my final rectangle into place here. And all I'm going to do is make a nice border right along the edge of my design here. And then I'll just stick a couple dots on some of these larger areas. But as long as you're careful with your lantern, I don't think it's necessary to get glue all over the entire design on the back, because that would not be very fun, and I don't think it's necessary. So there is my final piece of vellum. And now all that's left to do is glue these together side to side. It does not matter which piece you start with. They're just going to go together. And I actually cut this out in colors that I thought looked kind of fall-y for Thanksgiving, because right now it's the beginning of November, so I kind of have Thanksgiving on the brain. So I thought if it comes out looking nice, I could put it on my table or somewhere for Thanksgiving. I didn't let this dry long enough. Let me just add some more glue here. And then all we want to do is the same thing on the other side. And just put a nice line of glue on this long tab here, and close it up. And I'm just being careful to get it lined up nice and straight. Kind of helps to be able to lay it down flat, so this works. And now all that's left to do is close up these sides. So to do that, I'm just going to put some glue on this tab and this tab. Doesn't matter which corner you start with, there are 4 of them. And if you're using dark paper like me, you'll want to be a little more careful with your glue, because you can see it if it gets outside where you want it to be. And I'm going to reach in from the inside so I can make sure that this tab is closed. So go ahead and do that with the other 4 corners around the top. So I've got my glue on the final 2 tabs up here, and I'm just closing it up carefully. And next we can put the top on our lantern. So the top is made up of 3 pieces. We've got these 2 which are going to get glued together. And as you can see, I only put glue in the ring. I didn't put any glue down here just yet, because that is going to go through this slit here in this square. And then I just put some glue on either side of the slit. And then I'm going to put this down on my table here and push down. So next I can take my lantern here and put glue on these 4 tabs at the top. And then I'm going to take a look at where the back is, because I would like this ring to be facing forward, not that it really matters. And just hold that in place for a little while till it takes hold. And then we can push down from the inside. And it might help to set this on the edge of a table, and then you can push down from the inside to make sure that those tabs are flat. So the final thing that we want to do here is put glue on all 5 of these tabs, and then we're just going to pop the bottom right into place. And since this ring is here, you can't really set it down on its head. So again, you could put it on the edge of a table like this, if that helps a little bit, to put the bottom in place. So next for our Mistletoe Manor, I've got the roof off here. And the first thing I'm going to put together is this little cupola at the top, which is this little tower sticking out of the roof here. So that is made up of these 4 pieces. And as you can see, I went ahead and glued these decorative panels on the top of each one. And as you can also see, there's a number on the side of each piece, and your machine will have cut that into your piece, but I darkened it in with a marker so you can see it for the video. And piece number 2 and number 4 are a little bit wider at the top than piece 3 and 1. So when you're gluing these on the top, you'll be able to tell which one goes where. But again, 2 and 4 are a little wider. So as you can see on the back of each piece, I also went ahead and glued these little pieces of vellum on the back of all 4 pieces. And then I went ahead and glued my windows on the front. And each window is exactly the same on these pieces, so it doesn't matter which one goes where. So the first thing we want to do is, well, as you can see, I've also folded each little scored area, and as you can see, each fold goes away from me except for this one right up here, which gets folded the opposite way, as well as the bottom tab, which gets folded towards me, as well as right here. So you want to make sure that all 4 pieces are folded like that, and then we can start gluing them together. So we'll start with piece number 1 here, and I'm going to get some glue on each of these side tabs, and then I'll take piece number 2 and glue it to piece number 1. So you want to make sure that it's taking hold before you move on to the next tab. And you just want to make sure that those corners are lining up nicely, and obviously that the edge of the one piece is lining up nice and straight with the folded edge of the other piece. And there's our seam. So go ahead and do the same thing with the other 2 pieces. So as you can see, I've got all 4 pieces together, and I've got glue on the side tabs of piece number 4, and I'm actually gonna get this top tab into place, and I've got all the other tabs tucked in, and while I'm holding the top one, I'm going to start to squeeze the bottom one into place too. And that just helps the other 3 tabs kind of just fall into place. I think that's pretty easy. So I'm just reaching in from the inside and making sure those other ones are in place. And this little tiny one, even if you don't glue that tiny one, it's probably not a big deal, so don't stress about that little one. So now we've got this little rectangle with this decorative panel on top, and I'm going to put glue on all 4 of these tabs and pop this guy into place. So once it takes hold a little bit, I can flip it over and press from the inside. So now let's take a look at the rest of the roof. So now for the rest of the roof, I've got my 9 main pieces of the roof laid out here, and each piece is numbered on the side. So your machine will have cut that number into your pieces as well. I just darkened it with a marker so you could see it. And so on each piece there is 2 different decorative elements, well, almost on all the pieces. We've got these large panels on top of most of these pieces, which is the snow, and then we've also got these green, in my case they're green here, decorative panels, as well as this cute little window which doesn't have any vellum behind it. So I think it's helpful to lay your pieces out in order, and then we can, as you can see, this large bottom rectangle actually gets folded towards you on each piece. So that goes for all the pieces, even these really small, piece number 4 here, this large tab gets folded this way, as well as piece number 7. So on the bottom of each piece, it's folded like that. So let's start by putting glue on the side tabs of piece number 1. And I'm making sure that my glue goes all the way out to the little corners of each tab. And then I've got piece number 2 over here, which I'm gluing to piece number 1. And I'm just taking it 1 tab at a time, making sure to line up the edges nicely. Until I get to the final one up here at the top. So all we're going to do is work our way around just like that with all 9 pieces. But each piece is a little bit different, so I will walk you through each one here, just in case you are wondering how anything works. But the same principles are going to apply all the way around the roof. As you can see, I put glue on all of those side tabs, and then I've got the next piece here, which is piece number 3, and I'm just carefully going one tab at a time, being careful to line it up nicely and making sure that each piece takes hold before I move on to the next one. And you just want to do your best to line it up nicely, and you'll be all set. So I've got, this is piece number 3 in my hand here, and as you can see, all 3 of these tabs should be folded towards you, and we'll leave this tab without glue for now. And then I've got piece number 4 here, which is just going to go on like usual, one tab at a time. And I'm just doing my best to line it up nicely, nice and straight. And there we go for that little piece. So I'm going to put glue on all of these tabs here. And I'm just going to take my time, and you can take your time even more than me to make sure that your glue is nice and you know, taking hold before you move on. Because of course, if you move too quickly, it'll slip out of place as you're working your way up that seam. And then this final tab here actually is like a, it's kind of like a twofer here. We're gluing it onto 2 tabs. And I'm going to hold that in place maybe for a few extra seconds so that it doesn't pull apart. And as you can see on my finished roof here, it really is kind of mostly flat except for this top area. So if you want to kind of smush yours down a little bit to help you, you can do that. So next we've got piece number 6 here, which actually earlier I said it should be folded towards you, but that's not right. It should all be folded away from you. And then that is going to go right here, so we can put glue on all of these tabs. And we'll just start with this bottom one here, making sure that it's taking hold, and working our way up the seam between the 2. So as usual, you just want to take your time, line it up as nicely as possible, and yeah, just do your best to line it up as nicely as you can. And don't stress out if it's a tiny bit off, because it happens. Okay, so that was piece number 6, so now we need piece number 7 here. So next I'm going to put glue on the side here on these first 4 tabs. And I've got piece number 7 here, which is folded like this. And all of piece number 7's side tabs you want to be folded towards you. And as before, just make sure that your glue is really taking hold. You can take your time a little bit. And just work your way up the seam. And there's two tabs underneath this square right here. It doesn't matter which one goes on top of which one. So now I am putting glue on all these side tabs here. And as you can see, this tab should be folded towards you. Actually, they should all be folded towards you. And then I'm taking piece number 8 and popping this into place 1 tab at a time. So again, you just want to make sure that you're lining everything up as best you can. So there's that tab, and now here's the final one. And now we can go ahead and put glue on these side tabs and grab our final piece number 9. So really, once you just work your way 1 tab at a time around, it looks pretty cool when you're done, but it wasn't difficult when you just go 1 at a time, and it makes sense. So there is our final tab here. And once that takes hold, all that's left to do is close it up. Nice and straightforward. We just want glue on all of these. And this little tab is like the world's tiniest tab, but I could not make it any larger. So actually I'm going to start at the top here to make everything sort of take shape and hold that together. And then the rest of these guys, I'm going to hold that for a few extra seconds because it wants to come apart. And then this final tab on the bottom. And once again, I'm going to just hold this a little extra so that it doesn't come apart. So there is our roof. And the next thing we can do is take our, there are 2 pieces like this. One is a little bit smaller. This one's a little bit smaller. That is going to go on in later as a like a finishing piece. And then I glued my decorative piece on top of this one here. And we can, let's see. I mean, there's pros and cons to whether we want to put the cupola on now and then glue it on, or you can glue this on and then put this on. It really does not matter. But as you can see, this is a little bit, it's not a square, it's a rectangle. This is a little bit wider, and this is wider going this way, so you don't want to try to fit it this way. You want to fit it this way. So let's get those tabs inside. And then we can put a line of glue underneath where each of those tabs is going to get folded down. And once they start to take hold, I'm going to lay this down flat so I can press down on top of my table. And then I'm going to put glue on all of these tabs, going all the way out to the corners of each tab. And then I will put this guy right into place. And again, you don't want to go this way, you want to go with it, the widest part going side to side. And I'm going to make sure that the back and the sides are lined up first. And actually, I'm pushing from both sides to make sure that that back tab is getting glued into place so it can kind of anchor the rest of my pieces here. And then what I'm going to do is actually, I want to put this on the side, on the edge of my table so that I can push down from the inside. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then we want these tabs to get glued into place. So unfortunately you can't really lay this down flat so that you can push down on it on a table surface. So you just have to push from both sides as the glue dries, making sure that it's lined up as nicely as possible. Okay, so there is our roof, and now you can, oops, some of my tabs are coming undone, but you get the idea. And then next we can cover this with glue and glue that into place to finish it off on the inside. So for the four sides of the house, there are four main pieces, and I've got piece number 1 here. As you can see, there's a 1. Your machine will have cut the 1, but I blackened it in so you can see it for the video. But on the back, there's one back panel. Piece number 1's pretty simple, except for this little hole here, which is where, if you're using lights that plug in like I did, you can glue your little circles there. There's 4 circles, and they all get glued on the inside back here to reinforce that hole so that your wire doesn't tear up the paper. So that's piece number 1, and then piece number 2 is a side of the house. As you can see, I glued this large piece of vellum back here, and then on the front there's a decorative panel on top and on bottom, as well as the window frames, which in my case are red, and then the window shutters, which on mine are green, and then this trim up here, which is cream colored paper in my case, goes on the top, and then trim here at the top and bottom of each of these windows. So that's piece number 2. And then piece number 3 is very similar, except it's folded like this so that the front of it sticks out. And then we've got the door, we've got the decorative panels and the window frames, and again this trim at the top and the shutters and everything, and the trim on the top and bottom of these windows. And on the back we've got a long piece of vellum here, one long piece on each side, and then a long piece here and here. So when you're gluing your window frames and your shutters across the entire house, these shutters are all the same up top. The windows up top are the same except for in the center here. And then on the bottom, across the entire house, the shutters and windows and trim, it's all identical. So you don't need to worry about putting it in, on which piece. So finally we've got piece number 4 here, which is another side of the house. Again, a big piece of vellum and the decorative panels and the trim and the shutters and the window frames. So let's start with piece number 1, and I'm going to carefully put a line of glue along the edge of this tab with maybe a couple extra dots here and there. And I just want to line it up nicely with piece number 2 here. And as usual, I'm just being careful to line it up as nicely as possible. And then same thing on the side tab of piece number 2. And I'll grab piece number 3 and glue that into place. And then same thing here with a long line of glue with some extra dots along the side tab. And carefully lining that up and gluing that into place. So the next thing we can do is flip this over, and we can take our interior panels, which are going to get glued. Actually, let's see. You can tell where each one is going to go. I've got them all here, and you can tell exactly where they go. That's just to finish it off on the inside. I guess you could say this part is optional if you're not concerned with how the inside of your house is going to look. Maybe it's just decorative, no one's really going to look in there, and you don't really care. I mean, it does kind of strengthen it up, which is nice. And of course, if you're using it as a gift box or you're giving it to someone, maybe you want it to look extra finished on the inside. And if that's the case, you can go ahead and glue each of these decorative or interior panels into place. And you can tell exactly where each one goes. So if you're going to use these, go ahead and put them in place. So I've got my interior panels in place, and I'm going to close up my house here with a nice line of glue on that long side tab. And then I'm just carefully getting it lined up and kind of anchored into place so that I can flip it over and push down on top of my table. So now the next thing we want to do is flip the house over on its top. And since this top has like a peak up here, it's not going to want to sit flat unless you move it to the edge of your table. And then what we want to do is glue our bottom into place. So to do that, you just want to put glue on all of these tabs and then pop that bottom into place. So next, for the base of our house, I've got the sides of the base laid out here, which are numbered 1 through 5. And then the top of the base is this large white piece, and I went ahead and glued the base panel into place. And then the bottom is just a plain bottom. And then these two pieces we're going to form into a flat box that goes inside the base to provide support for the house. So first we can glue the sides together, side to side in order, 1 through 5. So I'm going to put some glue on the side tab of piece number 2 and glue that to piece number 1. And I'm just going to work my way around with all 5 pieces. And as usual, I'm just doing my best to line things up really nicely so that everything fits together as perfectly as possible. And of course, nothing's ever perfect, so no stressing allowed. If you do your best, it's going to look super cool. So here is the final piece here, number 5. And I better finish it before my cat attacks what's hanging down there. She's always super helpful with the crafts and everything else. So I'm just closing up these sides here. And we've got the sides of our base forming. So we just want these to be folded the opposite way. After the long side, there's one side, and then we want that fold to go in like that. So I think whichever, it doesn't matter right now which is the top or the bottom. And I think that the first one you put on always looks the nicest. So let's put the top on, since you're going to be seeing the top more than the bottom. And first I'm going to anchor this large piece in place just at the back so that it takes hold in place, nice and straight, nice and lined up, as an anchor for the other tabs that we're going to glue. So I just flipped it over so that I can push down from the inside. So once that back tab is dry and secured, I kind of folded the top out of the way there so that I can put glue on the rest of these tabs. So you just want to make sure that your glue is going out to those little corners of each tab. And once we get glue on all of them, we're just going to fold over that top into place. So I'm kind of just focusing on first one side and then the other side. And then I just want these front tabs to be lined up nicely. So you can flip it over then and push down from the inside. And if you need to adjust anything on the front to be nice and straight, you can. And next we're going to take these 2 pieces, which are going to form a flat box inside for support. So first I want to anchor one side here. And no one's going to see this, but we do want it to be nice and flat. So if you can make it nice and straight, that is a good thing. And then we just want a nice fat line of glue on each of these. And then we just want to pop this into place. And I'm just being careful to make it pretty straight. It doesn't have to look pretty, but it needs to be fairly straight and flat so that we can glue it inside our base like this. So you could really turn it either way, doesn't really matter. I'm going to turn it this way. And pop that inside. And then we can put glue on all these tabs, going all the way around. And you can certainly take your time a little bit more than me with your glue placement and be a little more precise. But you just want to make sure it goes out to the little corners and that you get a nice coating on those tabs. So now I'm just taking the bottom of the base, and I'm putting it in place. So it's already kind of like holding its own shape already, so it's pretty easy to just pop that right on there. So there is our base, and the next thing we can do is take our house and cover the bottom of it with glue. And I think it's a good idea to kind of go heavy in the center so that the glue definitely takes hold. And then just carefully center your house right in the middle, in the middle of the obviously where it goes. So you want to do your best to have an even border around the edge so that you know your house is centered, so that everything lines up real nice for us as we finish the house. The next thing I'm going to put together is the roof of the wraparound porch that goes around the house, and that is made up of this piece here, which has all these tabs that are folded, little skinny tabs, and then on the top of it I glued my decorative, in my case it's snow panel on the top, and then the bottom actually has all these holes in it, as well as tabs, as well as at the end of these pieces it's folded over at the ends too. So that is the bottom, and then we've got the sides, which are also numbered like we've done before in this project with the numbers. So we've got 4 here, and like we have done before, we're going to glue those together side to side. And when we were working on the base, if you noticed, each of those numbered, the side tabs on those were rounded in case your base is the same color as your roof or your house or something. That way you can tell, oh hey, these are the base pieces because they're all rounded on the end, and these on the roof of the porch roof are all pointy on the end. So in case your house is like all one color or something, and you don't want to be confused about which pieces you're working with. Okay, so these actually do not get glued together to finish it because it's just a wraparound front and sides roof. So what we want to do first is start to glue the top onto the sides. And we've got the long piece and then one piece, and then we want to fold it the opposite way. And the same thing with long one, and then fold that in the opposite way. So I am taking the top of my porch roof and gluing that into place. And I'm going to work my way around. And actually, the next piece I want to glue is actually at the opposite end, because I wouldn't want to work my way down in order and then get to the end and have it be a tiny bit off and have it look funny. So I'm going to glue the other side into place. And of course, I'm doing my best to line it up nice and straight. And then I'm going to glue the rest of these tabs into place. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Literally just straight, nice straight pieces, nice and easy. So the next thing we want to do is glue the bottom into place, which is going to pretty much work the same exact way as what we just did. So let's go ahead and anchor our pieces together here with this one long side tab. And then I'm going to fold this top out of the way a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the rest of these tabs, because these sides are really being held into place already, so it's going to be even easier to just close this up. So I want to get this side, the other side into place here. And I'm just reaching in from the inside so that I can squeeze both sides. And then I just want to guide those tabs into place there. And once it starts to take hold, I'm going to flip it over and carefully reach inside and push down on those tabs from the inside. So the next thing we can do is close up the back side here. So as you can see, this is the top. I've got glue on both of these, and I'm going to close it up like this. And I can carefully reach inside to squeeze those closed. And then I will do the same thing on the other side. And again, I'm just carefully reaching inside to squeeze those together. And now we can take a look at our columns. So here is one column in my hand here, and there are 10 of them all together. Nice and simple, just a plain, simple, column. So we can create it just like that. And we want these, the bottom and the top, which are identical, to be folded over. So I went ahead and already created the other 9, so I've got all 9 of my columns here. So I've got all 10 of my columns together, and they're all identical, and each one is actually going to go inside. There's no glue, I'm not gluing them into place, but each one is going right inside each of these 10 holes on the underside of my roof. So they fit nice and snugly, and if you're having any trouble getting it in, just kind of twist it a little bit and it pops right into place. And then the next thing we want to do is carefully turn it over, and we want to slide the roof onto our house, and you can gently bend the sides of your house in, especially if your shutters are dimensional like mine. So I'm carefully sliding it into place and making sure that this front is sliding into place. And then we can carefully slide it down. And as you can see here, I am guiding each column a little bit into the base as I gently slide the roof down a little bit. And I have not glued anything. I didn't put any glue on the columns or on this porch roof at all. Everything's just being held together right now by the friction of the paper. So I just want to carefully go around, and I'm pushing down actually pretty hard because those columns are touching the top of the roof and they're also touching the very bottom of the base. So you want them to all be nicely down, and then you could leave it just like that, or if you would like to put any little dots of glue anywhere, I mean, you can, but if you would like to get your glue inside there, a way that I do that when I want to do that is I put a little bit of glue on something like a pin that I don't really care anything about, and let's say that I just wanted to glue this a little bit. I would use this to get a little glue in there and then hold that while it dries. Because the glue is just, I think it's optional, and it's not like it's really holding it together. So there is the bottom of our house, and the last thing to do is this little decorative piece here. So this back part of it is going to go right here. So we just want to put a little line of glue on this guy. And then some glue on these 3 tabs. And then this the top of it just folds down to create the side. So go ahead and do that on the side, and then cover the back of it with glue. And then that just goes right just barely above that little window in the front. So there you have it, really fun projects for Christmas or any time of year if you adapt them with different paper. So I hope you have fun making it, and if you do, you'll definitely have to share a picture of your house or whatever project you make on our Facebook wall, or share it on your blog, pin it on Pinterest, put it on Instagram so that we can see it and the rest of our crafty friends can see it too. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time, and happy crafting.
Learn more by visiting www.svgcuts.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and watch all of our crafty videos on YouTube. It's a world of crafty content, with you in the middle. SVGcuts.com, inspiring you to live creatively and beautifully.